I was going to do Jokic on his own. I think that he is a cut above this year, but I do understand that there is trade rumors going around. Jamal Murray is going to come back at some stage, and sorry, trade rumors going around about, say, Ben Simmons getting to Denver. They've got the depth there to make a trade happen. But I mean, if you start your draft with Nikola Jokic, if you got the first pick, I think you got to take him. If he slides to you at 2, I think that's a steal. He's as close as we can get to a perfect fantasy guy. He shoots really good from both percentages, shoots the 3, obviously rebounds really well, obviously assists fantastic. He's an incredible passer. His defensive stats are okay. That's probably his biggest letdown, as well as turnovers. Obviously, he took a step up in points this year, so I think he's really, really good. And if you got the first pick or the first couple of picks, I think that he's the guy that you're going to go with. Karl Anthony Towns, he's right up there. He's very close to a top 5 pick this year. He just needs to stay healthy. I'm going to give him a pass mark for last year because obviously there was a lot of things that went on with his family, with COVID in the US there, and he was also I think he had some sort of an injury, so he missed time from that as well. So I will let him have a pass mark. He's going to have some more supporting staff around him this year as well. So as long as the T-Wolves are staying, as long as they can compete, as long as they're making a push for the playoffs, I think that Cat is going to have a monster year. He, again, is someone who is going to put up bulk threes. He's going to get you really good percentages. He anchors you from the line, really good boards. He's going to get you 3.5, 4 assists per game, decent blocks. The nature of his game is going to get you close to a steal as well. I really like Cat. I think he's going to slip a bit because of last year as well. So if you can get him outside the top 5, I think that's a really good spot to grab him. In tier 2, we've got Joel Embiid, we've got Nikola Vucevic, and we've got Bam Adebayo. Now, I was going to put another 1 or 2 people in here. You could potentially argue that Embiid and or Vooch should be higher. You could potentially argue that Sabonis should be in here as well. Sabonis is not on any of these lists. I see him more as a power forward as much as he's got center eligibility. But Embiid, I think he's an absolute weapon. The only thing that you have to contend with is obviously his health, and if you're okay to run that risk, then I do think that he's going to have a phenomenal year. So he's somebody that I really, really do like. He does everything you need him to. Great percentages, will put up the 3. He prefers being in the post, so his percentage or his field goal is always going to be high. Rebounds well, passes decent for a big man, 1.5 to 2 blocks per game. Points great, does turn it over a little bit, but any ball dominant player is going to turn it over. Vooch, I think he's somebody that goes underrated every single year in drafts, which is awesome because it means that you can get him, and it means that he is getting to you at value. I think that if you're in a smart league, you should be getting him in the teens, in the mid to high teens. If you have an early pick and then he's around there in the early 20s, I think you got to snap him up because he's a really good player. He does a bit of everything. I don't think that being in Chicago is going to hurt him at all. He's going to do the same thing. He's so consistent. I've always slept on him because he's just super boring. His floor is high, his ceiling is equally high, and you just know what you're going to get game in, game out. Bam, I think, is another player who's going to slide. He passes the ball really well. He rebounds really well. He's really decent from the line, and he's good from the field. Does turn the ball over a bit, but I do think that he's going to hopefully rein that in a little bit this year, and I think his assists will still be okay, might drop a little bit, but I think his defensive numbers will increase as well. He's one of those players who's a really good real-life defender that hasn't translated to fantasy just yet. So gets himself in really good positions, defends on the ball really well, can defend on the ball from multiple positions, and I think that there's only a matter of time until that 1.1, 1.2 steals, 1.1, 1.2 blocks turns into 1.5 and 1.5, which would do wonders for his fantasy value. He's also going to get you close to or near enough to 20 points a game, and I think, again, he's somebody that if you can get, you should be getting him in the high teens, low 20s. If he does slip past that, I think that's a steal. Tier 3, we've got Rudy Gobert, we've got Deandre Ayton, we've got Miles Turner, my man, Clint Capela, Jonas Valanciunas, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Christian Wood. Now, I did speak about JJJ and Christian Wood on the power forward ones. I won't go into those guys too much, but I think if they stay healthy, they're really good picks in the early to mid rounds. They're going to put up, they're not dissimilar whenever it comes to the game. Puts up good threes. Could rebound maybe more than you would. Could rebound more than they currently do, and decent defensive stats and good points. But Gobert is, I think at the right price, he is a great center to own. My concern is that he always goes a little earlier than he should because name brand value as well as his monster blocks. So really good for field goal, really good for boards, really good for blocks. Not much else for that. I don't think that he's going to be taking the leap from this tier 3 into tier 2. I do think that he could be taking the leap from tier 3 down to tier 4 if his points don't stay up there. He is going to have a good year. He's going to be consistent. If he stays healthy, he's going to be fine. But yeah, I think you've got to make sure that you're getting him at the right value. At that right value, I think he's probably in the 30s. If you can get him around there, that's right. If you're having to reach him in the 20s, I wouldn't. The same as Deandre Hayden. I think he was rated in the 40s for the year. And I think he's going to be better than that. I think he's going to be a mid-30s player. But again, people are reaching for him. So just make sure that you are going to get him at the right value. He's going to be really good for points, boards. He does need to increase on the defensive end. If he can increase his blocks, then he's going to have a really good year and he's going to be great for you. But just be mindful that you don't reach early for Ayton just because he had a really great final series. And then Miles Turner, Clint Capela, Valanciunas. So Turner, I'm not going to go into too much depth for threes and blocks. A lot of his value is tied into his blocks. The jury's out how he is played under Rick Carlisle alongside Sabonis. I don't think that he's going to play much inside, so there's going to be his field goal is definitely going to drop. His threes are probably going to increase, but those monster blocks carry his value. And then Clint Capela, similar to Gobert, I think if you can get him in the 30s, really good value. They're not dissimilar players for that. Monster boards, monster blocks. Valanciunas is going to have a really, really nice year. So he's somebody who could genuinely take the next step up. And I think that he's going to be really good for all kinds of shooting, rebounds, and chip in with a block and a steal. So I really like Valanciunas as somebody who is going to slip, somebody that you can get inside the top 50 and that's going to return probably inside top 40 value. At tier 4, we've got Nurkic, we've got Williams, we've got Isaiah Stewart, we've got Jared Allen, and we've got Brooke Lopez, and we've got Mitchell Robinson. So I could probably take all, if my league allowed it, I could take all 6 of these centers and be absolutely stoked. Nurk, I think, is going to have a bounce back year. He passes the ball really well for a big man. It's just a matter of what he can do with regards to his points. He obviously is coming off a couple of injuries and played some really bad basketball last year. So I think we are looking at a bounce back year. Robert Williams just needs to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy and he can get close to 30 minutes a night, we're looking at a double-double with 2 or 3 blocks, monster sort of a guy. Isaiah Stewart, I love. I think he's got a really nice, clear pathway to big minutes and to early round value. I think he could be a top 40 sort of center with off the basis of field goal, boards and blocks. Jared Allen, same sort of guy. Mitchell Robinson, same sort of guy. These Williams, Stewart, Allen, Robinson, and then a couple of people that I've got coming up here are similar sort of guys. Pathways clear, responsibilities theirs, opportunities theirs if they want to take it. Field goal, boards, blocks towards the middle and latter rounds of your drafts. And if people want to let them slide into close to 100, let them. I think that they're all going to perform at 60, 70 value, and they're going to have good years. They just need to stay healthy, stay out of foul trouble, and I think they'll be fine. And then Brooke Lopez, 3 and D. So he's going to put up a couple of threes. He's going to get a couple of blocks, like a mini poor man's Miles Turner and JJJ. He's going to get it done. He's going to be consistent. I do have my concerns over Lopez because he's the fourth man in the pecking order there. So how is he going to get his shots to stay value? DiVincenzo is going to come back healthy as well. So how does that look for his value? I think he is going to be okay. But again, he's somebody that you'll be looking at grabbing at about the 100 sort of mark. Evan Mobley. Tier 5, Evan Mobley, Jakob Poeltl, Mo Bamba, Kelly Olynyk, and Mason Plumley. It starts to taper off a little bit here. People with a bit more risk associated with their game, people who haven't necessarily. Evan Mobley is going to be coming off the bench behind Jarrett Allen. They've got Lauri Markkanen, so they're paying Markkanen $65 million over, I think, 3 or 4 years. So you're not going to spend that on a player and not play him. So he's going to have an opportunity to show what he can do. Mobley's going to come he's probably going to get some minutes at the 4, but he's going to spend the majority of his minutes at the 5 behind Allen, which is concerning for his value. But if he can carve out a role, he's going to have a really good year. Jakob Poeltl, he's going to be the starting center there in San Antonio. Again, not dissimilar to the other guys. Blocks and boards, but he doesn't have as much as much of a ceiling on the offensive end. Mo Bamba is going to be coming off, starting behind Carter Jr. whenever it comes to the pecking order. But I have got him much higher because I think he's going to have a better year. He shoots the ball really well. He can knock it down from deep. He can block the ball really well. So I'm quite high on him. He's just got to get opportunity, and once he gets the opportunity, I think he'll hold on to it, and I think he'll get that role again. Carter Jr. can't stay healthy, so I'm not too concerned about him. He's actually down in tier 7. Olynyk, he can play multiple positions, which is great for his value. He's obviously going to knock down triples. He's not going to be their starting center, so I'm not concerned about the value for Stewart on that. He's going to come off the bench and play either the 4 or 5 depending on the rotations there. And then Mason Plumley, I think he's going to have a really good year. He's going to get slept on quite a lot, but he had a really good year last year. So he passes the ball. I think he might have had a couple of triple doubles last year, or went really close a couple of times. He's going to have a good year. He passes the ball well for a big guy, underrated passer for a big guy. He's going to get you 10 and 10, 10 and 12, or 12 and 10, I should say. And he's going to be fine. He's boring, but he's absolutely going to have a fine year. So he's probably a last round sort of guy because he'll be there, but definitely worth grabbing. Horford, Nerlens Noel, Sengun, Claxton, Gafford, Harrell, and Birch. I'm not going to talk too much about Horford because I think he's really boring. I don't want to talk about him. Nerlens, he's up here because there is a little bit of a question mark next to Robinson's ability to stay healthy and stay out of foul trouble. Again, if Robinson stays healthy and stays out of foul trouble, he's going to have a good year, and Nerlens is not going to do much. Sengun, he is probably going to play a little bit more at the 4 than he is at the 5, but I think that he's going to have a really good year, can knock it down from deep and really stretch the floor. Nick Claxton, not so much on the offensive end, more on the defensive end, boards and blocks. Daniel Gafford and Harrell. So I've been asked a lot of questions about how this rotation is going to shape up in Washington, and I think Harrell's going to get the start, but I think Gafford is the better center there, especially from a defensive end. So I like him as a late round guy. Ken Birch as well. So Ken Birch from Toronto. I think he's going to get the start there at center. Nick Nurse doesn't love Chris Boucher, so I think Birch is the man there. And then it drops off pretty quickly here. So tier 7. James Wiseman, Enes Kanter, Wendell Carter Jr., Thomas Bryant, Steven Adams, and Moses Brown. So Wiseman, I think, is still a long-term project. He's going to get minutes, and they're just going to be inconsistent. Enes Kanter is coming off behind Robert Williams. So, again, he can't play defense. He's going to be an offensive guy, a 10 and 10 sort of guy. So, if you like that, grab him late. Wendell Carter Jr., if you're getting Carter Jr., you've got to get Bamba and vice versa, because one of those two is going to win out. As I said, I back Bamba to win out, but one of those two is going to win out, and one of those two is going to have a really good year. Thomas Bryant can't stay healthy, so that's why I've got Harrell and I've got Gafford ahead of him. So Bryant will probably be the first guy off your board out of those three centers, which is fine. Don't reach for him. He's not going to stay healthy. Steven Adams, boring. Don't worry about him. And then Moses Brown in Dallas. So last year we saw stretches of Brown having absolute monster games for OKC. He got bounced around a bit, which was an absolute shame, and then ended up in Dallas. Now he's buried in the depth chart, but I really like him out of their centers as somebody who's worthwhile grabbing late in your draft, or just putting on the watch list, because he could have a really, really good year, but it might be later in the year. So, a talented guy, but yeah, he's stuck in behind your Dwight Powells, your Maxi Kleber, and those sort of guys. That's pretty much it. As you would see, I raced through those last couple of rounds because the value really does drop off, and most leagues have a cap on your center eligible players, or your primary center eligible players. So the tiers 4 and 5 there, I think are the really good target ones for your mid to late rounds. And then you want to be getting guys with high upside. So your Claxtons, your Gaffords, your Birches, your Browns, your Senguns, those sort of guys who could have really good years and take that next step up. Other than that, as I said, I'm going to open up the mailbag on some of the TikTok and Instagram questions. If you got them, shoot them through. Make sure you hit the button to follow and subscribe. I have mentioned it on one of my TikTok videos as well. Happy to help out absolutely everybody and anybody. If you're sliding into the DMs on Instagram, I am going to prioritize the ones that have followed, because obviously I'm looking to grow the follower base on that platform as well. So if you want me to jump in and answer some questions, happy to. Just make sure you click the follow button. But until next time, don't forget to rate and subscribe.